Oh, goodness me. An hour to go, almost to the second. And the leader is crawling back to the pits. What self-control, Jamie Campbell-Walter, is required to do this when you know that you're an hour away from winning the race and you've got to go slower than you possibly can even want to.
The 8 car is going to take the lead, for sure. 57 seconds gap. I think it's probably more like 30 now. He's already coming up towards Arnage, and the 7 car is not even at the Porsche curve, so I think he'll be past him before he even gets to the pit lane.
Louise Beckett, the tyres there are used tyres, correct?
Yes, correct, they are.
Well, at least they've got air in them, and that's slightly more than we can say for the ones he's got on. Number 8 car dodges a 3-way bullet there at Mulsanne, piling on the pressure. Number 7 is still our leader. Let's listen.
Okay, apparently, yes, puncture. You mean front one or normal full puncture? I don't know. Continue. Push. Copy.
You see, and again, we go back to that. Whatever happened to you could happen to me. There's the number 7 car peeling off to the right into the pit lane in a moment. He will come.
Wow.
And number 8 takes the lead with an hour and counting. Wow. Here we go. So Louise Beckett is down at Toyota. They are still looking at a 1-2. The next closest car is 5 laps behind, but it's the other one, last year's winners, Jamie, that now take the lead.
Why did they only change 1 tyre? I have a feeling it just came in. It's on his outlap, and he had a puncture. And I don't understand why they just didn't do all 4 tyres.
Because the tyre pressure monitoring system would only say it was that right front, and so therefore they would just change the 1 tyre, believing 100% in the tyre pressure monitoring system, as opposed to a little bit of old school, looking at it and think, we've got a 3-minute lead. Yeah. Why don't we just do them all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Belt and, if you like, braces. No. All right, well, if you get anybody, Louise, shout us up and we will pick up on that as we go along. But Kazuki Nakajima leads. And in the other battle for supremacy in the AM class, what's the gap now, Graham Goodwin? It is down to, Alan McNish or whoever's got the headset, it's down to 5.7 seconds. Jörg Bergmeister catching Ben Keating.
Well, go on, your little beauty, Ben Keating. He's got the hurry-up call, and he is holding Jörg Bergmeister now to 5.5 seconds, and has done for the last lap or so. So he's not been caught at all by Bergmeister since that penalty stop was assessed.
Lapped
57 minutes, and what drama.
Yeah, lapped 2/10 quicker than Bergmeister last time round, but they both need 1 more stop at least. And of course, Keating Motorsports Ford has to serve a drive-through. So Ben Keating will do that, probably the lap before he does the driver change. Then he will come over at the end of his 6 hours and give the car to Jeroen Bleekemolen, and then Bleekemolen will chase Bergmeister for the win. And hopefully for us, and for the other fans watching, we will get a late race repetition of the GTE Pro battle, Jamie, from a couple of years ago.
He's already taken his penalty.
He's done the penalty. Okay.
So this comes down to being something very simple. He's now got to get into the driver change window, the fuel window for the Ford. 1 stop, 1 driver change, 1 run to the flag for the win.
Okay, well, hang on a minute. He's taken the penalty and he's still in the lead. Wow, okay. Yes, he has been really pulling the fat out of the fires.
And the next lap, he will pit. Because they've then got enough fuel to get to the finish.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back counting fuel from the finish and forward counting his time in the car. Here's Rob Luypen at Toyota.
Yes, well, we've seen the number 7 come in and have all the tyres change. Rob, that's not what we wanted to see, is it? But after everything, 8 could have the championship, 7 could have Le Mans.
No, this is also not what they have deserved. We thought there was a front right puncture. It wasn't now on the rear. We should have changed all tires in 1 go. We didn't do. Wanted to minimize the stopping time, short fuel, and he had to come in again. So now he has to chase number 8. We have a race again from that point of view. But this was definitely not in our script. Sorry.
Thanks.
After all these years, still Le Mans catches people out.
And taking full responsibility for the team, making that call, Rob Luypen.
Yep.
That will be gut-wrenching for the number 8 crew. That's the number 7 crew, rather. They have bossed this race. Absolutely bossed it.
And they're a minute behind. Jose Maria Lopez chasing Kazuki Nakajima. We're looking now at the GT Pro class. There's the remaining Corvette of Antonio Garcia. He's down in 7th place. Their chance to win has gone.
We have a 2-stint mileage tire, 2-stint mileage tire. We have 2 stints to go. A bit less now. Again, the factor, again. There is something wrong. No, Jose, everything okay. Everything okay, Jose.
Well, he's not making it up. Something is telling him there's a puncture, Al.
Yeah, but this could be the actual TPMS system itself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what I would do right now is I would check what the pressures were on the old tyres, which obviously they will do, and information to the driver saying X, Y, Z.
Yeah, so if both fronts had the correct pressure in, then disregard the system.
Yes.
How tough is this, Alan McNish, to keep your emotions in check, keep the adrenaline down? What's going through your mind as a driver at this point, Alan?
You can't say those words on air.
No,
I'm just saying that now.
Well, I think everybody knows what's going through Jose Maria Lopez, and also, and more actually in a worse situation, his 2 teammates as well, because they can't do anything about it. They're just sitting and deflating. Their stomachs just dropped, hearts just dropped. Their chance of a Le Mans victory has disappeared in a tyre puncture. And from that perspective, everything that they've worked for, not just for the 23 hours up till now, but the week, or everything they've worked since the last Le Mans last year, is just sort of disappeared in the space of what we incredibly thought was going to be an easy run to the flag for them.
They're going to lose the championship to their teammates, and now they're going to lose Le Mans to their teammates. Standing on the top step of the podium would have been a big result for them, even if they weren't world champions. The GTE AM class, Ben Keating is
stayed out.
Not yet in the pits, but Jörg is.
Jörg Bergmeister.
Jörg is in the Team Project 1 Porsche. Oh, who's going very slowly? Why is that Porsche? Well, it's not, of course, because there's a Toyota going by it. Suddenly I thought that was a P2 car going by the Porsche.
Okay, Jose Maria Lopez, you need to calm down. Martin Haven, you need to calm down.
The first thing, actually, that the engineer got back to Jose saying was, 2 stints to go, save tyres. Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, he said, look, yeah, that probably wasn't the most appropriate thing, but just remember that engineer's under a lot of pressure as well, because he was also part of that decision-making process, and probably the ultimate decision maker in that. The engineer is the one that defines his car. It's his car, and everybody else underneath it works for him.
Okay, at the moment we are P1, but I don't know exactly about the pit stop situation.
Okay, well, I think you should know about the pit stop situation, because you know exactly how much fuel you've got in the car.
It strikes me as mild panic, I'll be honest with you.
Well, no, it's just they don't want to say anything on air. But of course you know the pit stop situation. You've counted how many laps the other car's done. You've counted how many laps you've done. Wow. We know the pit stop situation, or we will once Graham's interrogated the laptop.
So in that respect, yeah, it was a bit of an odd statement there to Nakajima, but again, coming back to from Lopez's point of view, then he hasn't done very much long. He could have, if you're being hypercritical about it, but I would never be in this situation, to be honest, is he could have waited until those cars had passed, and actually then he wouldn't have had 2 wheels on the right-hand side off the circuit.
4 laps
but
on
I
the
wouldn't
stint.
really go for that.
Apologies, 4 laps on the stint for Kaz Nakajima in the number 8 car, and of course we've seen that rather staccato set of pit stops. 11, then 2, then 1, then 1 for the number 7 car, and that lead was gone.
4 laps to go for Kaz Nakajima then before
6 laps to go in this stint.
Into the stint. Okay.
He's 4 laps into a 10-lap stint, so 6 laps to go in this stint, and then he'll have a splash till the end. But the other car, I would...
Just keep normal pace, we will keep you updated. I'm not so sure about the situation. At the moment we have a lead, but there are some discussions ongoing. Just normal pace. Copy.
So that is Kaz Nakajima. He's been here before. He wants to know clear instructions. They don't appear to be being very clear.
What is going on? What are they worrying about?
I think the fact of the matter is they're looking at the whole position now. And in terms of that, it's quite clear what Nakajima's stint time is. It's also very clear how quickly they will need to go for Lopez to be able to run to the end. Both of them, I think, will need a splash of fuel of some sort or another, because they've both got 50 minutes to go, and Nakajima's got 6 laps.
GTEM leader, that's Jeroen Bleekemolen, that's Ben Keating getting out, that is the battle being joined. Jörg Bergmeister already stopped from second for Team Project One. He is being chased by Ryan Baptista, who's 8 seconds behind him and has done the same number of stops. And in 4th place, the 77 Dempsey Proton Porsche is chasing the JMW Motorsport car for a spot on the podium. Last stop for the 85 car, Graham, I think so.
Yes, it's absolutely the final stop. Jeroen Bleekemolen getting in. 56 cars in the Porsche curves. Fuel still going in. Fuel still going in. Fuel still going in. And this will feel like the slowest stop in the world. And where that goes, they're careful not to spin the wheels this time.
Slowest acceleration in the world.
Where is the 56?
This ain't him, so. Well, he came
56 is in the Ford chicane now.
Yeah, here we go. So the chase is on for victory in the GTEM class. There will be possibly the length of the pit straight.
Less than that, way less than that. This is going to be 2 or 3 seconds.
So the gap is 1 minute. I'm not sure what to tell you, but it's 49 minutes to go, so it's not finished.
What are they having this mass conflab about? They look like both cars are about to blow up, or actually almost like both cars have blown up. What's the question mark over the 8 car?
I think you know what the question mark is. What are they going to switch the positions? That's the simple discussion, which would be, I'm sure most people think appropriate for the 7, but if you were in the 8, you wouldn't want to do that at all.
No. I mean, you know, it's the problem here, of course. It's not as simple as a performance issue in the car. It was a call made by the team, and the team will be feeling a weight of responsibility for that, to take away what was at that point of the race, a race won on track by the drivers of the number 7 crew. I think you're absolutely right, Alan McNish. What this is the team agonising about whether or not that is a call they feel they have to make.
Maybe they're advanced thinking, what happens when the number 7 comes knocking on the back door of the number 8?
But it won't.
Yeah, Rob Loipen said this was not in the script. Louise just reminds us, no, absolutely right. But then Le Mans rips up the script and throws it away at the moment that they wave the tricolour at the start of the 24 hours.
Yeah, see, if any team knows that, Toyota know that. They've been here for so many times trying to win it. In fact, they were leading on the 2nd last lap a few years ago and stopped in the start-finish line with 1 lap to go.
With Kaz Nakajima at the wheel.
Yeah.
So they have been in this position where it has been taken away from them. I've raced for them here at Le Mans. We were leading and then went out in the middle of the night. We had 3 cars in there, and it was just all, it's what it is. This is Le Mans. Welcome to it.
I've got a piece of your car from that year on my office wall when Thierry went out in the middle of the night, handed to my lad across the barrier at Dunlop.
What, did he think it was the Friday Drivers Parade or something, throwing out bits and pieces to the crowd?
That was a big shunt, big shunt. Down the Mulsanne goes the number 7 car. Meanwhile, by the way, in GTM, it's not Ben Keating. It's still shown there as Ben Keating, but it is 3.3 seconds is the gap. There are 46 minutes to go, and they don't have to pit. That is going to be a battle to the finish for GT ahead of the 56 Team Project One Porsche.
I need just to interrupt and save Alan McNish the bother of saying, come on, you little Bobby Dazzler. Problem with the left front corner of the Corvette. Somebody, or the car has come in and clearly reporting some kind of vibration or possibly a loss of brakes. And with the accident that the 64 car had, they don't want a problem with this car before the end of the race. So this is going to be some work to do for the Pratt & Miller crew.
One final thing to say, if you're watching on with Tomming and Scoring, you can see that the JMW Motorsport car is now within 10 seconds of second place. That's the replay.
That was
the replay.
Yes, that was the 64 car.
Too much excitement in too short a period of time.
Yeah.
Let's calm. But the GMW Motorsport has closed within 10 seconds of Team Project One, but they owe us a stop.
That's the replay of when the 64 car went out, big shunt, for which, in the steward's room, Satoshi Hoshino apologised to the Corvette driver. The stewards then had a debate and came back with the answer that it was Marcel Fassler's fault and it was going to cost him €7,000.
Yeah, I have no comment to make on that.
No, me neither. Those are just the facts. Marcel Fassler spent the night in hospital after observation. Great story here in the 83 Kessel Racing Ferrari. They are the better of the Kessel Racing duo of cars. And at the moment, Michelle Gatting is at the wheel. 3 female racers in that car, and they have not put a wheel wrong. The sister car, or brother car, perhaps,
absolutely,
if we're going to be strictly accurate, had a few problems. But this trio have just driven the wheels off this car. And Kessel Racing with a 2-car entry. This is definitely the faster of the pair from start to within 45 minutes of the finish.
Yeah, great. That barely a mark on that car, and it's been another good run from them. Into pit lane comes the 92 Porsche.
Yeah, just point out that all those marks on the corners that look like it's held together with gaffer tape, no, those were on right at the very beginning. Keating Motorsport from Team Project One, that's your 1-2. And where is the third-placed car at JMW's Ferrari?
It's in the pits.
It is in the pits, you're right, the 84
final pit
car.
Stop for the Keating, the JMW car.
So the chase is on. It was before the pit stops 10.9 seconds. It is now after the pit stops 3.2 seconds.
Visual. There's the visual gap between the two. The wider shot, you'll see it.
Now, the Keating Motorsport car is more complete. There's that yawning hole in the left front corner of the
Is it a hole
Porsche.
or is it just a wrap?
No, it's a big gap. You can see into the front of the car. It's hit something or been hit by something. This is our GTE Pro class leader, Alessandro Pierguidi, in the 51 SMP. AF Corsa Ferrari. Well, they've done left sides only before, and that's because you particularly overtake places like Indianapolis, loading up the left side of the car. So that's a half set, possibly saved from other half set changes. And on the roof there, remembering 70 years ago this year, Ferrari's first ever outright victory at Le Mans.
And away goes the 51. Alessandro Pierguidi stays aboard. Car 30 is slow at Marshall's Post 4. That is the Duquesne Engineering car.
Oh, that's tough for them.
And that will be the AF Corsa's last pit stop of this race.
Here is our LMP2 leader. Question being asked as to why the damaged nose on the Project One Porsche hasn't been asked to be changed. Don't know, maybe because it's got lights and everything attached to it.
It's aerodynamically damaged. It's not unsafe in terms of falling apart or anything like that.
Oh, that's a Duquesne car. It's had a puncture. No, it hasn't. It's had an off. It's got broken right rear corner, hasn't it?
It does. You can see the right rear dragging Nicolas Yaman in the car.
It is going to get a puncture, though, isn't it? Look at the big black marks that's leaving.
That's the export car unlapping itself on the Duquesne car. Needs to come around again to claim that 5th position. Paul Chatin has been mighty aboard that car. It's a long way home for Nico Jamin.
I don't know what's actually happened here, because if it's a right rear issue, it looks like a toe link or something else. Then I don't think he's hit anything, because there's nothing really to hit for that.
Gilles Duquesne, the team owner at Duquesne Engineering, another organisation, by the way, that unveiled a brand new car, at least the concept for a brand new car. Builders of LMP3 cars now taking over the Norma programme.
Just about turned right, and if he tries to turn left too much, the car's going to swap ends on him, because it is, as you can... It looks like a NASCAR, broken before it even gets on the track. It is definitely crabbing very badly, and the IDEC Sports Paul Chatin will pass him.
Well, he's passed him, but he needs to come back round again.
Yeah, so he will pass him for position. By the time this car leaves the pits, it will have lost at least 1 spot. Will it drop behind G-Drive? Yes, because IDEC and G-Drive are only 13 seconds apart, so they're effectively, for Duquesne, 2 positions that are going to go by. Panis Barthez is a further lap back. Depends how long that takes to get in, and here's a problem. The 81 car also squirreling at the back.
That's the 81 car coming back. That's the 81 car that's been stationary. Is that the 81?
That's the 81.
That's the car that's been stationary at the second chicane. getting back into the race.
Philipp Eng, therefore, has fixed something or tied something together.
So we're back to 49 runners.
Right rear, well, right rear corner is the problem on that car as well. Here comes the Duquesne car. White flags will be covering its progress.
When did the 81 stop?
Not when I was in the booth, an hour or so, okay.
Thank you, mate.
Louise is telling us.
Well,
so
we had Philipp Eng in the booth last night, didn't we? And was thoroughly looking forward to this. That's what your youth and enthusiasm buys you at BMW, is the grit to get the car back.
yeah. Phil Hansen for United Autosports in 4th place. Really strong run from the joint youngest driver in the field and his teammates. 32's been the unlucky dog in the United Autosports duo, hasn't it?
There are some small gaps in LMP2. Rusinov and Chatan battling away for 6th position. We've got Capilere and Stevens battling away for 8th position.
Talked to Phil the other day down at United Autosports. For a 19-year-old, he is disgustingly mature and composed, but that comes with being a racing driver.
Blinkerman and Bergmeister, meanwhile. 1 second.
Phil, do you want to stay in till the end?
I don't mind.
I'm easy, it's your call. Up to you.
I mean, should we put belief in to maximise any chance of getting a birdie in case someone has a last-minute error?
So that's the debate. Is there a chance of a podium with putting Felipe in the car?
They're ahead already of the Duquesne engineering car, so therefore I think you're looking at TDS. Like Duval's in that car, and he's 1 lap ahead. So I would think with 38 laps to go, it's going to not necessarily be car performance that will dictate it. It'll be a technical issue or some incident happening to the
That was the voice of the head of engineering there, Gary, on the radio.
81, BMW makes it back to pit lane after, how long was that lap?
Actually, it's a very good point. It was 1 hour 22 and 24 minutes, so he's been 24 seconds. So he's been stopped for 1 hour and 20 minutes, basically.
Well, heroes are made in all sorts of different ways here at Le Mans. We saw that, didn't we, from the ARC Bratislava squad earlier.
40 minutes out on the track, we've given that up for dead, and then suddenly it reappeared, moving with some of its bits still attached.
Back into the box.
Nick de Vries as well, Racing Team Netherlands, drove back with 3 wheels on his wagon.
Rather sadly, that car re-emerged with just a single lap with Miro Konopka before retiring.
It is indeed crabbing like a crabby thing.
Like a crab, in fact.
Through goes the Project 1 car. Jörg Bergmeister 4.2 behind your own Bleekemolen. And last time round, Bleekemolen 3:54.7, Bergmeister 3:55.3. So Bleekemolen is creeping the gap away a fraction.
It's much slower lap last time around from the number 8 Toyota. Lost 5 seconds, down to 52 seconds now, 37 minutes to go.
In fact, Bruno Senna in the 4th place Rebellion was quicker than, or as quick as the Toyota. Is Nakajima Control-Alt-Deleting? It's sort of somewhere down the straight, and as a result having to just shut everything off to shut everything back up again?
Well, let's wait and see.
He's halfway down the Mulsanne at the moment. This is the 48 car in the LMP2 category. This is IDEX Sport. Paul-Luc Chatan is about to take 5th place away from Nicolas Jamin. When he gets to the line, he will do that.
TDS Racing in for their final stop, 3rd position, not under any pressure at the moment from Philipp Hansen. We heard that debate with the engineer about whether or not there was a point in putting Felipe Albuquerque in the car. So where are the gaps on pace that might change? Roman Rusinov and Paul-Luc Chatan are battling. Will Stevens and Vincent Capilere are both on pit road at the moment, 5.5 seconds apart from midfield place in LMP2. For the overall lead in GT Pro, the gap is 34 seconds now between Alessandro Pierguidi and a charging Earl Bamber. And of course, in GTM, it's
have at it, boys, everywhere, actually, up and down the order.
Jerome Bleekemolen is pulling away. He's doubled that lead to 6.4 seconds.
Can I just say, though, that Bamber owes a stop before the end of the race.
In is the number 30 car.
And so do both the Toyotas.
Let's get down to BMW. Louise is with Nicky Katzberg.
Nicky Katzberg has been watching the team as the 81 has finally come back to the garage. That's incredible!
Yeah, it is, and honestly, I'm not sure what happened, how he made it back, but it seems that Philip is a great mechanic as well, so I think he repaired the car by himself and now he drove back, so it seems like we get to finish after all.
So do you think the team have been speaking to him throughout all that time? It's been an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and honestly, I thought we were done, so I wasn't really kept up to date. So how he got back now, I'm not sure. They need to have a good look what's going on, but it seems like we will make it to the finish.
Well, that's good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if it was electronics, Alan McNish, lots of these things now modular, could be just simply tracing the module, changing it. Maybe we'll see that car back out quickly.
Yeah, could be, but it's how he got it back is the thing.
Behind us, Jim Roller back in familiar territory for he and I. He's producing from the back seat and just reminds us that the Spirit of Race 54 Ferrari has got a massive penalty because of exceeding the driver time. 3 laps plus 3 minutes or something are going to be added because I think probably Thomas Floor, they left him in the car too long, so exceeded his maximum drive time. Now, it may not be total maximum drive time. It might have been in... You can only do 4 hours in any 6. So, but somewhere in there, they've counted up the way I count up and got it completely wrong.
Yeah, this is quite a big issue at this moment in time, actually. It seems to be hitting quite a few people. Last year it hit the Ford 67, who finished 3rd or 4th, I think, and then later got disqualified because of it.
Well, what they're doing now is they're adding the time that you've, quote, stolen by overstepping and then throwing that in addition into your race time.
The penalty for the 54 car is 4 laps deleted from the final results and 3 minutes 8 seconds added to the time.
So in fact 54 currently
5 laps
shown as having completed 322, so that'll be 300 and what's 4 away from that, 18,
plus
which will drop them which will drop them like 7 places.
Yeah, will drop them, but they're certainly not going to win the championship now.
No.
Let's put it that way.
This happened, this was exactly the same with Ford last year. I think what they do is they add on the laps that you have exceeded the time.
Exactly so.
So they basically, if you exceed it by 10 minutes, then you do, say, 3 minutes and 20 seconds per lap, then it's 3 laps added on.
The other car in similar kind of sort of woe, but not remotely as big a penalty, is the 6th place car in that class, the Car Guy racing car, which will get 1 minute and 38 added. The moment that will not drop them a further place down.
I tell you, when you look at these guys from Toyota at the moment, they will win this race and they will finish 2nd and they will win the World Championship. But it'll be one of the most muted celebrations, I think, that you could have. The podium will be celebrated, but inside it won't be the happiness that they should deserve.
Well, the gap, 48 seconds. And Louise Beckett is calling us from the pit lane to tell us that the Duquesne Engineering squad have turned that car around remarkably quickly. Back onto the pit apron, 7th position, having lost a couple of places to the EDEX Sport and the G-Drive cars. And that car was in pit lane for just 4.5 minutes to sort out that rear corner. Excellent work from Gilles Duquesne, Jan Bellon, and the growing force that is Duquesne Engineering. We will see more of them for sure in the future. Puts them out of any chance of last-minute dramas for a podium for the Duquesne Engineering outfit based in Alès, south of France. But closing in just 90 seconds or so away from the final half hour.
This is the 2nd place Porsche GT with Jimmy Bruni at the wheel, and 1 minute and 3 seconds behind race leader AF Corsa Ferrari Pierre Guidi at the wheel.
Coming into that zone where final meaningful pit stops coming. The 25 Algarve Pro Racing team, David Zollinger, a late replacement for the injured Mark Patterson. I'm sure Mark will be listening and hope you're feeling much better after that big shunt at Monza for the elder statesman of ACO Rules Racing. In 2 comes the #1 Rebellion with Bruno Senna aboard.
Porsche already the world champions for the teams. Driver's side is still being fought out, as we know. So in the GT Yam, just as we were watching the Pro there going through in GT Yam. Just to give you an update, Bleekemolen is now 8.6 seconds ahead of Bergmeister. So the Ford is now stretching away a little bit ahead of the Porsche.
Well, Keating Motorsports have run a great race. That's straight across the gravel, first chicane for the number 3 car.
Which is Gustavo Menezes.
Second time he's been off during the course of Sunday.
This will be the last lap for Nakajima as he'll come into the pits for his final fuel stop. Lopez has got 2 more laps before doing that, and then they'll go to the end.
Mighty lap last time around from Lopez of 3:19.7, took just over 4 seconds again out of Nakajima. They're not giving this up.
No, he's got nothing to give up.
Absolutely.
You know. For them, they're going to lose. They're not going to win the World Championship anyway. And if they finish 2nd or 3rd or 5th in Le Mans, I don't think it really will make their spirits feel any better. As we're on board now with Nakajima running down. The other thing from the 2 Japanese drivers, we've got Nakajima in car number 8 and also Kobayashi in 7. Whichever one wins the World Championship is the first ever driver from Japan to win an FIA World Championship. So therefore, we'll go home to a different type of celebration, go down in Japanese history.
Absolutely, as you know, massive passion for endurance racing in Japan, and they're going to be fated. Whatever happens here, it's been an astonishing season of consistency, of pace, of performance from Toyota Gazoo Racing, and we get drama again in the final hour, and again Kaz Nakajima is involved.
Are you feeling me to push or just maintain the gap?
Just push reasonably, no extra risk, no extra risk.
Okay, I need to know how much gap do I need? Exact number, how much I need?
Normally we have enough margin. We will have a quite a similar pit stop both cars, and we have 47 gap.
Copy.
I think that's all they needed to know.
Yeah.
What's the pit stop strategy? What's the gap? As now he dives into the pits. All the rest of it was just extra words. So now Nakajima dives into the pits.
Race leader for the final stop in the 2019 Le Mans 24 Hours.
If there was one driver you wouldn't wish this situation on, it's Kaz Nakajima.
Well, he now knows what the deal is. They led briefly on Saturday evening when safety cars jumbled the order, but they have not had the pace of the number 7 car, still do not have the pace of the number 7 car. However, fate has decided that at the moment, the number 8 car will be in front. It's not to say, as Toyota know oh so well, that that will end that way. Number 7 goes by the pit lane this time, and the number 8 is already off its pit stand and down. Number 7 takes the lead, but will still have to stop.
Yeah, I think he's got 2 more laps. This lap that he's on now just started, and 1 more lap, and then he will have to pit. He will have a shorter fuel fill time, but...
it's not 38 seconds, is it? 43 seconds, rather. Here comes the team car, the number 8 car, still in the hands, of course, of Kaz Nakajima. 27 minutes remain. I'm sure there's an algorithm somewhere that explains just why it is that these major endurance races throw up these dramas, but they always seem to.
Nervy times for everyone at Toyota. Look, they're stony-faced. Signatec Alpine leading in LMP2 from Jackie Chan DC Racing and TDS, and no battles on at the moment for the podium. But now the answer to the conversation that we heard between Phil Hansen and Gary Robertshaw at United Autosports, Gary was saying, Phil, do you want to stay in for the end? Phil said, I don't mind. Well, you make the decision. Well, what about if we put somebody else in? Maybe there's a last-minute problem. I'm not quite sure how they resolve that, but in the end, Phil Hansen has stayed in the number 22 car. So he leaves the pit lane in 4th place, leading Ligier, United Autosports, with their number 22 car. IDEC Sport in 5th, G-Drive back up to 6th ahead of Duquesne after that rear suspension breakage for the car, and Nicolas Jamin back out of the pit lane ahead of Panis Barthez, Graf Racing and Aldorf Pro rounding out the top 10. But the number 8 Toyota will cycle back in front at the end of the next lap after this, when Jose Maria Lopez, the current leader, makes his final fuel stop.
And just passing the Ford GT of Harry Tincknell in 5th place, who's just made his final stop alongside Scott Dixon, the 69 Ford GT. Just behind, both of them have done their last stop. A splash, not a complete full tank, because they don't need it with 25 minutes to go.
Graham may be going quiet for a minute because he's doing points permutations in the GTE Pro class.
Yeah, just double and triple checking our reckoning. But at the moment, it looks as if the two-driver full-season squad of Kevin Estre and Michael Christensen are en route to the Drivers' World Championship in GT. Remember, this is a car that did lead. Led comfortably before that exhaust change, but they've managed that gap since. Needed to finish 8th or better in what 10-car WC field. Remember, the cars ahead that are not full-season WC cars do not count in that points gap.
So that's 2 US-entered Porsches and 2 US-entered Fords ahead of them that don't count, and plus the Corvette that doesn't count as a full WEC point scoring entry.
So for that to now change, what would need to happen is for there to be late race dramas for the 51 car, because the 91 crew would have to win. So two things would need to happen.
And the gap between the Ferrari that leads and the 91 Porsche that's second is 1 minute and 3 seconds.
And it's been well managed, by the way, by the AF Corsa crew. Jimmy Bruni and co have been pushing and pushing hard. Have not made much impact, I'm afraid, there. In LMP2, the 2 championship contenders are running 1-2. But it will be the one that finishes ahead of the other that will take that championship.
Stoffel Van Dorn leaving the pit lane for SMP for the final time. He has done considerably more laps than Thou. He's done over 9 hours in the car. His teammates 6 hours and a bit and 7 hours and a bit, and he has definitely produced one of the drives of the race, given that this is his maiden Le Mans 24 hours and he didn't even start the season, never mind Le Mans last year, with the SMP racing team.
There you see the points in LMP2. 2 Jackie Chan DC racing cars up there in 2nd and 3rd.
And a tie for 5th position. Racing Team Netherlands are going to tie in 5th place in the championship at the moment.
And in GTM, by the way, the Keating Motorsports car about pulling away 11.5 seconds to the good. So those dramas for the moment behind
Don't even.
No,
don't go there. Don't get the map out the glove box.
But Project One en route to the championship in their first year, but not their last in the FI World Endurance Championship. They step up next year to a 2-car effort. It's been a fine introduction to endurance racing from the world's most successful one-make Porsche racing team.
In the GTE Pro class, Ferrari leads a pair of Porsches. In GTE AM, it's Ford, Porsche and Ferrari. So there's no sign of Aston Martin on the podium in either category. This has not been a good weekend for Aston Martin, either in Pro or in the AM class.
Lopez will be coming back to the pits at the end of this lap, and that will be for his final fuel. I don't think they'll take any tyres.
It'll be 21 seconds plus however long on pit lane will be the gap to play with. It's not going to be done on performance.
There's Jörg Bergmeister in 2nd place. In the GTE AM class, in that multicoloured Porsche. TDS racing car goes by him, and he... Oops, no, that's the Jackie Chan DC racing car from 2nd. It comes in for its final stop. TDS just went by the pits.
TDS have been in, I think, for their final stop. Lloyd Duval was in a few laps ago.
Jackie Chan DC racing with Hoping Tongue comes in. 3 minutes, the gap. Been a fine fight, but 36 car, well, pretty imperious actually. once we saw that stumble in the starter motor failure for the 26.
Yeah, but if I sort of just say, if I look back through the last 5-6 years of LMP2 here at Le Mans, then the Signatech Alpine team have been very, very strong.
Yep.
Pretty much podium contenders every single year.
And it looks like it's going to be a 4th win out of 4 in LMP2 for Nico Lapierre, unbeaten in this class. Here they come for their final pit stop, 20 minutes on the clock to go. In comes the number 7 Toyota behind.
Yep. Busy pit lane, 77 is in, yes, that was the Dempsey Proton car that goes by the Toyota there. They make their final stop. Matt Campbell trying to catch the JMW Ferrari for the podium. Here comes
lead.
Yeah, number 8.
Goes by as the pit stop is completed.
The clock is a-ticking. The advantage for the number 7 car was 16 seconds. Well, the deficit for the number 7 car was 16 seconds.
Astonishing emotions involved here. I can't even begin to imagine.
Well, muted celebrations, I would say.
Well, because they can't celebrate. They know what happens on last laps.
I think that was from that team's point of view where they thought they had it in the bag.
Yeah.
They fought hard, they fought well, and snatched away from them. But we'll buy a call to respond to a problem that turned out to be the wrong one.
They did everything imaginable right.
You know, I have to say, I'm sure we're going to see internet conspiracies aplenty on this one, and I think they're all wrong.
Well, don't worry, there's been plenty surrounding GTE AM as well, and the enforced nose change for Keating Motorsports. That wasn't a competition yellow in any way, shape or form. That was just part of the rules. Fernando Alonso, Kazuki Nakajima, Sebastian Buemi with the points lead as we get to the final 19 minutes of the longest endurance racing season, longest FIA World Championship season in history, and the 19 minutes before the end of a second Le Mans in one championship season. The first and last time that will happen.
So we are P1 with 23 seconds gap, and the situation is under control.
Copy.
That means if 7 catches you, he's not going to be allowed to pass.
That means no, hold positions from here.
Which is a shame, because we've got 18 minutes to go and a 25-second gap. That's catchable.
Yeah, but if you're Toyota's point of view, that's huge risk.
Huge.
What they would like, however, is for the number 7 to hove right up behind the number 8 car, so they get a lovely 1-2 photo finish.
Yeah, if I was Nakajima, then I certainly wouldn't be taking that risk.
So what's Lopez doing? This is his out lap.
Please bring the car home. Please bring the car home.
You heard it in the engineer's voice. You know, that was the fight gone. That was the last fight, part of the fight gone.
Yeah, please, Jose, just get it to the line. No debris, no heroics over curbs, caution in traffic. 1-2 result, it's what we want. It'll round out Super Season perfectly.
Was that a stop we were expecting, Alan?
No, it wasn't, because Luc Duval's been in about 5 laps ago.
So maybe they just didn't have enough on a full fill to get all the way to the end. That was like a 5-second. That might have been maybe 1 lap's worth of fuel.
No, they put 5 laps like had done on the previous, since he had fueled before. And so he had 5 laps to go.
Maybe it didn't fuel as much as... Because they're checking the meter to see how many kilos has gone in. And they've gone, no! Double check, triple check. No, sorry, Loic, you need to come back in again. And that throws a potential lifeline to Phil Hansen and United Autosports. Does it? How does that close the gap?
Let's watch at the end of the next sector. I don't think so. I think they are effectively a full lap back.
Here is our race leader in LMP2, Nico Lapierre. If you are looking for a safe pair of hands, he has got exactly that. Hope Intung, second for Jackie Chan DC Racing. TDS have completed their final stop, and they are in 3rd place, ahead of United Autosports IDEC, who have just stopped with Paul-Luc Chatin and G-Drive. Long-term lead battlers with Signatech Alpine.
So gaps, 24, 25 seconds. We heard both those radio messages from Toyota Gazoo Racing. They're the gaps. 3rd position, and with 3 laps to spare, ahead of the first of the Rebellions is SMP Racing's number 11, Stoffel van Dorn will bring that car home in the LMP2 class. Signatic Alpine look en route to a race win and a championship ahead of Jackie Chan DC Racing. TDS with 4 minutes of a gap to the United Autosports number 22. Fine run from both those cars as well. In GT Pro, AF Corsa's 51 car, the outgoing world champions, a minute plus ahead of the 91, the car that was chasing that world championship, but will not get it for the drivers. Third position, just under 20 seconds back, is the US entered Carville Bamba.
Here's our GTE Pro leader then. Alessandro Pierre Guidi has got this under control. He's doing the lap times, 3:55.3, and only Earl Bamber in third is quicker than, much quicker than him, 3:52 last time round for Earl. So he is trying to close down, not so much Alessandro Pierre Guidi, but fellow Porsche driver Jimmy Bruni to try and grab second place. AF Corsa, it's been a pretty up and down season for them. They haven't had an awful lot to smile about, and James Collado is keeping his nerves under control, isn't he? Because we've still got 15 minutes to go. In 1949, Ferrari claimed their first ever win here outright at Le Mans, and then that very quickly became the focus for Enzo Ferrari. Formula One, yes, all well and good, but winning Le Mans was the big thing. And it was here that Henry Ford decided to teach Ferrari a lesson for reneging on a sales deal to sell Ferrari to the Ford Empire. And that created, well, with the help of Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles and the Lola company, the Lola Mark 6 and the Ford V8 begat the GT40. It stumbled in the first couple of seasons, but then, boy, when it hit its stride, they wiped the floor with Ferrari. Henry Ford, at one stage, reportedly said, who asked me, who asked about a budget? There is no budget. This isn't a race, this is war. Will Stevens and Tristan Gormandy nose to tail. And this is for position. This is for 8th place. Panis Barthez inches ahead of Graf Racing in the pit lane with our GTE AM leading team. Louise Beckett.
Ben Keating, I'm going to be very careful what I say to you here, but Jeroen's putting in a great performance there, isn't he? And widening that gap.
Well, you know, we had some damage on the front of our car, and don't exactly know why they made us come in and change it. But the fact is that the car is handling a little bit better now that we've replaced it. So we had some pretty bad understeer, and you know, the Trek is really gripped up well, and so now that we've got all our aero back in the front, you know, we gave away all our advantage that we had, and it was it's been an extremely stressful last couple hours, but you know, I don't know, we've got maybe what, 15 minutes left, but it has I'd rather be 10 seconds ahead than 10 seconds behind, I guess I would say.
Most definitely. Thanks very much.
You bet. Thank you.
Ben Keating talking acceptably well for a man who hasn't breathed in 35 minutes.
One quick point, as a minor point to the points, the outgoing world champions from GT, Alessandro Pierre Guidi, who's the wheel of the 51 car, and James Collado will take second place in the championship from the Porsche here. Well, listen, with only their second win of the year for Ferrari.
I was going to say, it's not a bad way to surrender your championship by winning Le Mans. You know, if that's the way it works, then okay, all right. That. Last year we were world champions. This year we win Le Mans. That's Al, you'd go with that, right? You'd take that.
I prefer to take both, but if I can't take both, I would definitely take a Le Mans victory.
Well, in the week that saw James Collado turn 30 years of age, it's a good way to set him up for another crack at this next season.
Now,
talking... You're going to say another 30 years.
Talking about setting up for another crack, Tristan Gormandy is being utterly relentless with Will Stevens. The Graf racing car, the red, white and blue behind. Gomondy with much more sports car racing experience than Stevens, but Will is comfortable in that Panis Barthez car. And this is a battle of two different manufacturers. Panis Barthez, Will Stevens, Ligier with Dunlop tyres. Graf Racing, Tristan Gomondy, Orica with Michelin tyres.
Remember, this is the car, the Graf Racing car that initially set pole position. Had the time was taken away after Vincent Capillaire missed a weighbridge check. So we know there's raw speed in that Orica package, but Will Stevens developing quite a reputation for himself in sports car racing. Won at Sebring, of course, with Jackie Chan DC Racing, switches back for Le Mans to the Panis Barthez team, where he put in some stellar drives last year on the Michelin tyres. He will know what Gomondy has got underneath him in this Orica.
And Ligier just a fraction, a smidge slower around the lap here. It'll be interesting to see where Gomondy closes and where he doesn't. Let's get down to Ferrari. I don't know if James Collado is daring to breathe, Louise, back in.
Just 10 minutes remaining, and we know the checkered flag's not gone yet, but James, if you can't have the championship, Le Mans not bad, is it?
Well, it's not over yet. Still 10 minutes. I don't know what to say, really. I just feel sick and horrible, and yeah, there's no words at the moment. I think it's quite emotional because even if something did go wrong, I think we've done an amazing job as a team. So 9 minutes to go, probably 3 laps, and yeah, let's see if we can do it.
Thank you.
Al, you know exactly what he means, don't you? That powerless to make anything or stop anything happening feeling.
Yep, you're just sitting there waiting and hoping and watching the clock count down and praying. The only person that's actually in any control is the person in the car, and as we're watching on, it's Jérôme Bleekemolen in the Keating Motorsports Ford, and it's Pierre Guidi that's in the AF Corsa car that we're looking at now.
Yeah, you saw in his bright pink and purple race suit the bald-headed Ben Keating in the garage, did his stints in the daylight. He knew that the pros in the car would be quicker at night, and he would have time to do his drive time in daylight, and that makes an awful lot of sense. Use your strengths.
A massive credit to Ben Keating, under massive pressure after that stop. He held the Project One car behind. He gave, albeit a tiny lead, for Jérôme Bleekemolen to build on. That was a really very good drive.
Absolutely right. He surrendered nothing there. He gave absolutely everything he could find. And actually, the folks from Wins, who are over from Florida for the very first time, nobody in the organisation who's here has been to Le Mans before. Boy, oh boy, are they going to be... I mean, they were already hooked by Drivers' Parade, but if this result falls their way, they're going to be more hooked than a hook thing on National Hook Day.
Reasonably happy with their return on investment, I'd have thought.
I think so. For a deal that came together in a month.
Staggering stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are the stories that Le Mans is made of. The brake car, Nakajima, making his way through traffic. Nervous moments, him too. Just under 8 minutes to go now.
17 seconds ahead. As you said, Alan, he's taking no chances either in traffic to jeopardise his chances of winning, or in slowing down to potentially jeopardise his chances of winning by allowing Jose Maria Lopez even a sniff of a dive of a late lunge. Not that I think Lopez would lunge him and risk any kind of contact. Lopez is currently a Toyota contracted driver. Toyota are coming back next year, and Lopez will think, okay, Alonso won't be in the car next year. Who knows who will? Maybe it'll be Brendan Hartley, maybe it won't. But oh, this is the battle. Will Stevens is in, and up at the top of the pit road, Graf Racing's Tristan Gomondy is in. It should be an identical stop for both cars in terms of time. Race on pit road for position between the cars. Stevens get back out in front. Nice under pressure work from Graf and from the Panis Barthez team.
I think the Panis Barthez team actually gained a little bit out of that.
Looks like
might
they
have been on
indeed.
entry to the pits, I'm not sure, but they were a lot closer as they came through the end of the previous lap.
2 seconds quick, you're absolutely right, Alan. It was 42 seconds on pit road for Panis Barthez, 44 for Graf.
Well, let's hope that neither of them were a little quicker down pit road than they should have been. Battle continues. Panis Bartes, 23 car in 8th. Graf Racing, 39 car in 9th. And still Algarve Pro in 10th place, not within shooting distance.
Jörg Bergmeister has been down pit lane, and that surprises me. I didn't think they needed another splash.
Well, they have been in for something. Now, how does that jeopardise potentially second place for Team Project One? JMW were 39 seconds behind.
Early.
That could be close.
They'd only done 11 laps on that stint, so they definitely, in normal running, they should have been able to do 14 laps.
Keep this pace and it will be just 2 laps. Don't go faster and it will be just 2 laps. Copy.
Okay, yeah, don't stress the car any longer than you want to, or than you have to.
I think get the race finished faster.
Yeah.
If you got 1 lap less, then it's 3 and a bit minutes less.
Yeah.
To stress.
Yes, and 8 miles less for things to break or for you to run over debris or to clatter a back marker.
Alan, you're known for a comment about racing luck, that the harder you work, the luckier you get. But in this instance, there has been some fortune that's gone, this time in Kaz Nakajima's way, after terrible racing luck.
Yes.
And for me, that's absolutely the story here. I wonder what he'll be feeling like after this race.
Well, I think that all of the drivers on this car will acknowledge the speed and performance of their sister car, because you can't help but acknowledge it. They had to acknowledge it because the 7 car basically left them and showed them a clean pair of heels up until the point where it had a double puncture. And so from that perspective, then, you know, there will be an acknowledgement of it, but there'll also be, they were there to pick up the pieces when the pieces were happened.
Senior Tech Alpine daring to believe. They've been here before. They know the car is hyper reliable, Graham.
Absolutely. They will be trying to cruise to a finish. Other emerging stories before we get into calling the finish to this great race. The late woes in the race for BMW Team M-Tech. The 81 car is back out there and looks set to take the finish, as does the Europol car. That one has just been out, back out on the track after nearly an hour on pit road. The Polish team in the 34 Ligier look like finishing their first Le Mans 24 hours. These are the starts to programmes with people like to enter Europol that will make a major difference moving forward.
Yeah, as long as they get their final lap in a decent enough pace. Well, we saw tears, didn't we, from the ARC Bratislava team after their car looked like it had retired. And at the time, Graham, late yesterday evening, you said, don't be looking at that and going, well, she's a female team manager, of course she's crying. We said there will be lots of grown men crying by the end of this race, and already we have them. That's the 83 car, just overshot the chicane. Michel Gatting in the Kessel Racing Ferrari, the one with the pink highlights.
We'll keep an eye on that one, absolutely right. And there's been many a Le Mans 24 hours where at the end of the race, for all sorts of reasons, I've certainly felt rising emotion.
Yeah.
Final lap now for the number 8 car. 15 seconds the gap as they cross the line.
Kaz Nakajima rolled off the pace just enough. Instead of a 3:19, it was a 3:22 to make sure that as the clock came to 3:2, even 57, there was enough time for him to do just 1 lap. And he will slow down if he needs to, a little on the final lap. But it's going to be, so far, so good, a 1-2 for Toyota Gazoo Racing.
There's a man that will know that his comments post-race will be forensically examined, and that brings his own pressures as well, doesn't it?
Well, listen, we talked about this early on. What a dream story for Fernando Alonso. 1 year in World Endurance, he wins the championship, and he wins Le Mans twice. No other man has ever, will ever do that again. That's a story, and that is a story that's such a change from the stories that followed him around Formula One the last couple of years.
Their faces, I think, told 2 stories. The tension of this last lap, but the emotion of being part of a team that's worked together for so long.
Well, it may have been pretty much over and done and dusted for the Toyota, but remember the Gomede-Stevens battle is now at 0.7 of a second again.
Even Alonso dare not look. See how red his tired eyes are. There is no rest in this race any longer. Hasn't been for many, many years. Number 8 Toyota down into Mulsanne corner. And by now, Alan, the body is sort of working almost on instinct. Everything happens at exactly the same pace all the way round every lap.
It is, but it's also working on emotion and adrenaline and fatigue.
Oh, look at that.
You're going to see a grown Spaniard cry any minute. And the Senior Tech Alpine team are ready. But look, everybody's jittery, huge breaths, lots and lots of emotional anticipation.
Well, they're going to get a lap gap on the Jackie Chan DC Racing crew, I think, because the leader of the race is running ahead of Hope in Tung.
Even Sebastian Buemi is looking really nervy. The first ever Japanese world champion is a few moments away from winning Le Mans for a second time. Here is the AF Corsa team. Seb, calm. Again, look at the red pupils in his, the red in his eyes, showing the strain and the stress. Kaz Nakajima heads through the Porsche curves for the final time, past the 77 Dempsey Proton car that won't overhaul WeatherTech's Ferrari for the podium. The last moments of the longest ever season, the super finale, comes to its conclusion. Toyota win Le Mans twice in 1 year with the same car and the same team.
Kaz Nakajima crosses the line in very different order than a couple of years ago.
Here is our GTE Pro leader, the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari, Alessandro Pierguidi and James Collado, no longer world champions, but Le Mans winners, that'll do, with Daniel Serra, who just absolutely drove like a hero in that car as well. That was absolutely a three-handed effort. AF Corsa take the driver's victory here for Ferrari. 70 years since they won at Le Mans outright for the very first time. Let's hear from Louise Beckett in the pit lane.
Sebastian Buemi, I can see the emotion in the final hour. The number 8 does it. Another Le Mans win for you.
Yeah, it doesn't feel so good because car 7 deserved it. So I can understand what they feel because it happened to us in 16. But yeah, it doesn't feel so good.
And world champions once again.
Yeah, that I can enjoy that better.
I'm sure you can. Congratulations.
Really mixed emotions there for Sebastian Buemi. No mixed at all for the Ferrari team. They are absolutely jubilant. We're waiting for the LMP2 leader to come across the line. TDS have finished third, Jackie Chan second. Here's our GTE AM class leader. The last GT40 win in their series of 4 in 1969 was not a factory entry, it was a privately entered Ford GT40 and the first ever privately entered Ford GT to race at Le Mans. For Keating Motorsport, Jeroen Blekemolen is going to allow the team boss to start breathing again. He must be at least the colour of the wind's purple on the car. Ben Keating and his crew, a late deal put together. Ben Keating, Jeroen Blekemolen, Felipe Fraga win in Le Mans, and there are the wins, guys. They are absolutely overjoyed, and so too our Senior Tech Alpine. Nico Lapierre brings the LMP2 winner to the checkered flag. The World Championship and Le Mans victory go to the boys in blue.
So many stories. A second Le Mans class win for Jeroen Blekemolen after LMP2 win in a very different car back in 2008, the Porsche RS Spider. Championships won, this race won. Third place overall.
For one first half race. So anyway, great job for everyone. Really shame for Car 7. Good job, good job everyone, and should be deserved by Car 7. Good job everyone. Yeah, exactly. Really shame. But anyway, I think everybody did a great job, so thanks for the effort.
I don't think I've ever heard a crew to be less pleased to win the Le Mans 24 Hours. Genuinely.
I know.
And actually,
I know.
Sebastian Buemi, spot on, Mr. Buemi, with your tone with with Louise Beckett. Just to recognise before we get into this correct celebration for Toyota, marvellous result too for S&P Racing with the BR1, but in particular the first ever podium at Le Mans for AER, which after many years of trying to defeat this great race, they've finally done it with the marvellous little P60B. We'll see that again next year with S&P Racing and with Ginetta. And to Mike Lancaster and his boys, and to Rob and Chris Dyson, well done, gentlemen.
Yeah, well done indeed. Also to our other finishers, and at the line, how many cars? Oh, where's Michelle Gatting? The 83 car. Now she takes the checkered flag, and she is the last car across the line, not in the order, but physically the last to complete a lap. And look at Nico Lapierre, Mr. 100%.
Yes, bravo les gars. Bravo à tous, bravo Nico. Yes, t'as gagné le Mans, t'es champion du monde. Yes.
Champion du monde, world champion.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
100% start and finish record here.
Astonishing record from Nico Lapierre, and he will move on to take his talents to a brand new team for the WC.
Let's get down to Louise Beckett in the pits.
Andre Negrão, another stunning performance from the Signatech. I can see the smile on your face. Look at it.
I not realized that we are the world champion yet, but definitely won Le Mans. That's amazing. Second time in a row, and the same time world championship. So I cannot expect better than that.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Louise. Congratulations to them. Congratulations also to the drivers' champions, Kevin Escher, Michael Christensen. They couldn't repeat last year's win in the GTE Pro class the way that Toyota team did outright, but they led a substantial part of the race, and they led a substantial part of the season as well. They are the drivers' champions. Porsche taking the Makes title last time out. So, like Ferrari last year, this year it is the Porsche team that take the Makes and the drivers' title. The outright World Endurance champions, Fernando Alonso, Kazuki Nakajima and Sebastian Buemi. And as Buemi said, you're correct there, they can enjoy that without any hesitation because they've earned it through all of the races of Super Season.
Well, if protocol is followed, the drivers' champions in the LMP and the GT classes will have the longest to wait in history to be crowned, because that's always done at the FI Gala at the end of the year. So it will be a podium here to celebrate Le Mans. The WEC Championships will come a little later this year.
Yes, they will already have started defending their titles before they're officially champions, although right now
there are champions, and that's all that matters. That was
number one in your hearts.
Well,
exactly,
you know what?
Right.
We were wrong, gentlemen. We were completely wrong. We said the race here would all be about LMP2, GT Pro and GTM, and boy, oh boy, did LMP1 at the end show us we were wrong in the most dramatic fashion. Real high emotion at Tota. You know, the 7 crew, I have no words. I have no words.
If there wasn't high drama, would it even be a Toyota team at Le Mans?
It's Le Mans. Le Mans decides, and this time it's decided that this man will enter the history books yet again with yet another chapter. 2 wins at Le Mans, both in the same season, a double world champion in Formula 1, a world champion in the World Endurance Championship, and Fernando Alonso finally can smile and celebrate.
It's not a bad way to say goodbye, is it?
Not a bad way to say, well, au revoir. He's made it very clear he'd like to come back here to Le Mans to do this again at some point in the future. Let's wait and see what dramas await for the remainder of his driving career. He's told us he wants to go off and do other things. Let's wait and see.
Well, he's tested Toyota Dakar trucks and suddenly he said, oh, hello, this looks like fun. Gigi Perfetti, Jörg Bergmeister and Pat Lindsay with the Project One team are the champions in the GTE AM class. They finished 2nd here. And Ben Keating, Keating Motorsport.
Felipe Fraga, there you go. There's emotion for that big guy.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about. And this is a massive physical, mental, psychological test. Alan McNish, you must have shed tears at the end of the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Yeah, shed tears of happiness, shed tears of sadness, shed tears just through mental and physical exhaustion, just like everybody else. It is, it's the release. I think that's the biggest thing now, is just the release, because you've either won it or you haven't, and you know what the end result is. But as ever, and it's definitely been shown today in quite a few of the categories that it isn't over until that checker drops.
And in fact, there's a look at Will Stevens coming through, finished ahead of Tristan Gomedy by less than 1 second after 24 hours of racing, 362 laps of an 8-mile track. 1 second. And they couldn't even get that far apart.
Kaz Nakajima is handed by the marshals, Toyota Gazoo Racing and Japanese flag. He will be a very proud world champion. You know what? If that kind of luck was going to go the way of anybody in motorsport.
Like you did last year, but you will have to stop in front of our garage in, let's say, on the track, and Fred and Fernando will jump on the car, and then you will drive till the end of the pit lane and drive backwards in the pit lane. So you will have to go probably quite left to be able to turn around.
Yeah, because they have to go up to the top of the pit lane and then swing round and come back down.
Waiting for him.
So he's picked the flags up outside their big VIP hospitality area just by the beginning of the final chicane sequence.
I wouldn't wish that result on anybody. The 7 crew must be absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah.
But if it was going to go the way of any other man in motorsports, I'm glad it went to Kaz Nakajima, because Kaz Nakajima, the heartbreak of that finish just a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
Well, what can you say? Amazing scenes.
Everyone in Toyota
scenes.
Gazoo Racing has lived the nightmare and the dream, haven't they?
Don't use full boost at this point, at which point, yeah.
Of course, now he'll roll away on electric power. So Toyota Gazoo Racing have confirmed they will return to World Endurance in Season 8. We will see the TS050 again.
It is indeed electric power.
Of all the machinery that Toyota has brought to Le Mans over 30+ years, this finally is the one that has brought them victory twice in one season, and each time starting to get a little bit of a Reinhold Jost theme going here. Each time it's been the number 8, as Reinhold won twice in succession over 2 decades with the same number car, in fact the same chassis. I wonder if that is the same chassis. I think it's probably unlikely.
Well, no, because no, it's the other car they changed the chassis on, wasn't it? It was Mike Conway's car, but Audi showed the way in terms of hybrid technology. Toyota responded brilliantly. Porsche, well, improved the breed, but for me, gentlemen, this car is just an astonishing machine. The fastest hybrid racer that I think we'll ever see at the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Toyota hybrids, 1-2 in qualifying, 1-2 in the race. And if you think between the first and the second part of that sentence there was nothing in between, then you definitely weren't watching. The story is never the bare facts at Le Mans. The bare facts are rarely even half of what went on. Now, I'm afraid our photographers at Marshall's are going to get run over. Louise Beckett is down in the pit lane.
Yes. Patrick, we're just waiting for the cars to come down the pit lane now. But what another race.
What an incredible race. I mean, there's so much drama in this race, and you got to really take your hat off to the 85 car. And, you know, Patrick Lindsay and Jorgi, they did a great job in championship. It's tough, but it's a beautiful race. I mean, this is what it's about. So when you stand up there, it's an amazing moment, and I'm happy for everybody. Really proud of the team. A phenomenal season, really, if you think about it. It's unfortunate the way things played out, but that's the way it is. Now we're fired up for next season. We're going to come back. But what a great pleasure to be here. And, you know, it's fun. I love it.
It's just clapping the Toyota as it goes by. So we look forward to seeing more Dempsey Proton racing next season.
Absolutely. We're coming back. We've got a lot of motivation to come in and try to get a championship here. That's what we want to shoot for, and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, we're coming back.
See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great news indeed. Patrick Dempsey, arch enthusiast. He properly has the bug, doesn't he? And Alan, when you win, you absolutely want to come back and do that again, because I guess it doesn't feel too bad. But when you don't win, you really, really want to come back.
Winning's addictive, and once you've tasted the champagne once, you want it again and again and again. And this place can be an extremely cruel mistress, as everybody in the number 7 Toyota knows about. But as well as this man from a couple of years ago, at the same time, though, it does just make you feel so good when you are able to achieve it, finally achieve it.
Now it's broken down. Well, now that's a change for the Bucks. Gets into victory circle and they can't move it.
Well, it's not sort of meant to park itself. That's the thing. It is a car that's been designed to be doing a heck of a lot quicker speed than it is at this moment in time.
Let's get down to the pit lane. The youngest ever Le Mans winner, Alexander Wurz, of course, part of this Toyota program.
Alex, it is really bittersweet within the team, isn't it?
It's absolutely sweet, bitter harmony unfolding in front of us. It tells the story of the race once more. Extremely character building for Toyota, but nevertheless, stepping back this one emotional step, which is very difficult. Toyota had a 1-2 finish, cars running almost perfectly all the time. We had a puncture which other people had, and maybe the most tragic puncture we will remember for a few years. Feel very, very, very sorry for my dear friends and extremely fast colleagues from car number 7, Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi and Jose Maria Lopez.